Hi everybody, welcome to engVid.com. I'm Adam. In today's video, I want to show you how to build your vocabulary base faster. Okay? Now, I've made other videos about building vocabulary, and I know other teachers have done this as well. But today I want to give you a bit more focused attention on how to do this in terms of the work that you're going to have to put into it. But before we get into that, I want to give you a few tips to get us started, okay? First thing I want you to keep in mind, and this is especially for those of you who are taking a test, like IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, whatever. I know that a lot of people do this, but don't do this. Don't memorize word lists. It is very, very ineffective. Why? Because you're memorizing words in a bit of a random list. There's no associations, there's no relations between the words. You're just trying to memorize them and then spit them out again onto the paper or in the interview or whatever. And even if you're not taking a test, this is not a good way to build vocabulary. If the words don't connect to ideas and to situations, you're going to forget them very quickly. So instead of memorizing lists, I want you to start building your own lists. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. Also, when it comes to building vocabulary, don't think that you're going to do it in a week or a month or even 2 months. It's going to take time. Give yourself that time. Be patient. Keep working. You will see results. Now, if any of you have ever gone to the gym and you're working out and trying to build muscle, you'll understand that after a week, you won't see any changes in your body. After a month, you probably still won't see any changes out in your body. And this is when most people just quit and stop going to the gym. But I'm speaking from my own experience. Once you pass that second month, you will definitely start seeing results. You will see your body starting to change. You will lose weight. You will gain muscle. Same with vocabulary. After you're doing this consistently and for a while, you're going to start realizing that you're using the new words. You're writing with them, you're speaking with them, you're doing all kinds of interesting things with them. So don't stop until you're fluent. Now, fluency is obviously a very big goal. It might take you a year, 2 years, 3 years. Keep going, keep going. English has a lot of words. The more you know, the better you'll communicate. And don't try to impress with your words. You'll make a much better impression if you're using words correctly with variety and very useful for the purpose that you're using them for, right? If you're just throwing out random big words trying to impress a reader or a listener, they will not be impressed. It's quite the opposite. They might think you're a little bit off, or they might look down on you because you're not using the language correctly. So the whole point is, the general idea is, work smarter, not harder. Don't sit there memorizing. Don't write random things. Have a very focused approach to building vocabulary. And now I'm going to show you the types of lists that you can start building that should be much more effectual in building your vocabulary base. Okay? So let's get started with that. Okay, so now, how are you going to build your lists? How are you going to make new lists that are more effective? Well, this is something that I call chunks or chunking. You're going to put things in particular types of groups or categories, and these sort of associations, these collections of words will help you remember them more easily because you're associating them under the category. So if you remember the category and this word belongs in this category, it'll already give you an idea, a sort of like a bit of a memory trigger to help you remember the words. So I'm going to give you 6 of these categories, okay? And by the way, if you want to get more help and get started with some lists, you can go to my other channel, right to the top on YouTube, and I make videos about vocabulary, especially with the idea of chunking to help you get started, okay? So let's start with the first group, context. Start thinking about words for particular situations, purposes, or functions. So you're going to have very targeted vocabulary. And an example, think of a very general topic like shopping, and then think of subtopics, something within shopping that's a little bit more specific. You can talk about e-commerce, which is incorrectly spelled. You can talk about e-commerce or a store or a few other subtopics. And then you go even deeper and get very specific words for these particular situations or these purposes, etc. So when you're talking about e-commerce, you can talk about platform. Now, a platform is a place where you stand and wait for the train to come, but it's also a place on the internet where somebody sets up a store or a business or some sort of service that you can go visit and shop there as well. You should know what a call to action is. Every website will have a call to action. They'll want you to click on something or do something. Letters, when you write a letter, you should end it with a call to action, etc. Conversion rate. What is a conversion rate? Turning a visitor to your website into a customer. That's the conversion, right? So again, these are just examples. There's a whole list of words. But once you put all these words together, each one will help you remember the other because they're all related somehow. But the key, and especially for the context group, is to, once you have a collection of words, write something or say something about this topic or about this topic. Especially for those of you taking tests, write essays, write short paragraphs about these topics, and that'll help you sink it in. Any chance you get to speak with somebody in English, bring up this topic somehow. Don't just say, oh, hey, let's talk about shopping, because maybe they don't want to. Lead them into that topic and then start impressing them with all your nice new vocabulary. So this is one. Another one is secondary uses. And by the way, how you're going to do this, you should keep a notebook. Have 6 sections to this notebook, or have 6 different notebooks, that's fine too. And as you learn these words, put them into your notebook. You can even do a search online for this particular topic and get all the words and start collecting these words for that. Secondary uses means everyday common words that can be used in completely different ways. So for example, the word shoulder, everybody knows this is a shoulder, the noun, but there is also a verb form of this word. To shoulder something means to carry. It doesn't have to be something physical. You can shoulder the responsibility. And building collocations, but I'm going to talk about that separately. So to carry something or to have some sort of burden on you. Boot. Boot is something that you wear on your shoe, on your feet. Not on your shoe, on your feet. And it's normally, most people understand it as a noun, but it can also be a verb. And as a verb, it can have 2 separate, completely unrelated meanings. One, you boot your computer. You basically turn it on. But a less common meaning is to kick. So when you boot someone, if you boot someone in the stomach, basically it means you're kicking them in the stomach. But if you boot someone out of the group, means you kick them out, you remove them. So less common usage. Hire. Everybody knows hire, like a boss hires new staff. But hire can also be a noun. So the new hire didn't work out well, so we had to let him go. So the person that we hired, the new hire, noun, and then we got somebody new. In British English, hire can mean rent. We hired a car. We rented a car. So again, a lot of secondary uses, keep those together. And the fact that you're grouping them as a secondary usage, you'll remember them having the non-traditional meaning, and then hopefully you'll remember what that meaning is, okay? So there are 2. Let's look at the next 2. Okay, so now we got 2 more categories we're going to work on. Precision vocab. This one is very, very important because what it does is it helps you reduce the number of words you need to explain something or to make a point, etc. Especially important for writing, but also for speaking. So precision, like to be precise, means to be very targeted on a particular idea. So when you say this one word, I can understand, like the listener or the reader can understand a lot of different things, right? Without having to be, without having it explained too much. So for example, if you want to return an action, if someone did something nice to you, you want to do something nice back to them. Or the other way, if somebody did something bad, you want to do something bad back. So instead of saying to do all this explanation that I just did, I could just use the word reciprocate. Reciprocate means that. So also, another thing that you're doing is you're removing the dictionary explanations of a word and just using the word itself, right? So reciprocate. A church singing group, 1, 2, 3, 4 words, I can replace with one word, choir, right? Or a choir, so 2 words maybe, right? Choir, just for pronunciation. Everybody knows what a choir is. Now, it doesn't have to be in a church, but when I'm putting this word within a certain context, within the other sentences, it should be very clear to me that we're talking about one in a church. If you're talking about a place or an event that includes people from all over the world, you could just say cosmopolitan. That's what cosmopolitan means. It reflects people and cultures from everywhere. So one word instead of all of these other words. So that's precision vocabulary. Make a list of these words that help you eliminate other words. And confused words. Now, everybody is going to have certain words that they're never really sure about, like affect and effect. Every English class you've ever taken, I'm sure at some point this has come up. I'm just using it here as an example. Sometimes it's just a question of spelling. Affect, verb, effect, noun, but effect, secondary meaning, can also be a verb to create a change, to make a change. Pray to God or whatever you believe in. Pray what's the thing that is hunted. Only E and A difference, the sound is the same. Then you have other words that are completely unrelated. Abuse. If you abuse someone or abuse something, if you abuse someone, you treat them very badly. Maybe you physically abuse them, you hit them, you verbally abuse them, you say bad things to them all the time. Emotional abuse, mental abuse, etc. You can abuse alcohol, means you do it too much without any control. Disabuse does not mean the opposite of abuse. To disabuse someone of an illusion means to remove the illusion. So if somebody believes something, but that something is not true, and you somehow prove to them, or you show them evidence that it's not true, then you disabuse them of that belief. You get rid of that belief for them. So again, lots of different words that can be confused with each other. Make sure you understand the differences and keep them in your list. And again, use them all the time, any chance you get, okay? 2 more, let's look at those. Okay, so now we have 2 more categories. We have roots, prefixes and suffixes, and parts of speech. Now, again, a lot of teachers will recommend this tool, and it's a very useful tool, but again, only having the one is too limiting. Definitely have this category. When you see words that looks very similar, make sure you understand why they are, right? So eject, reject, object or object, subject or subject, deject, etc. So the ject, this is the root, means to push out. So eject means I literally push out, like for example, from a plane, right? Like Maverick in Top Gun, he ejected from the plane and Goose got killed and now there's a sequel, right? So that's the root. Then make sure that whenever you have new words, don't only learn the one word. Learn all its different forms with all the prefixes and suffixes. Intent, intention, right? So here we have a suffix. Intentionally, all the way. Unintentional. Here I have a prefix and a suffix. Unintended, etc. Try to see all the different forms that you can find of a word, and then you have more vocabulary as well. And parts of speech. Don't just learn, again, this is very similar to the forms, except we're not talking about prefixes and suffixes. You're talking about function, noun, verb, adjective, adverb, etc. Variety, noun, vary, verb, varied, adjective, variedly, adverb, not very commonly used, but it's still technically okay. And This might also help you think about different words that are related, like variation. A variation means a different way of doing something, right? So all of the different forms and all of the different roots will help you also build more vocabulary by focusing on one or two words and building from there. And then you have the idiomatic, which is very, very important, especially to build your spoken communication. Of course, we use these in writing, but we use these a lot in everyday spoken English. So idiomatic is basically groupings of words that when they're put together tend to have very different meanings than the individual words. So for example, you're going to have phrasal verbs, and I have a lot of videos about those you could look at. Collocations, these are words that generally go together and work together. And then of course there's idioms themselves, right? So then I'm going to show you all of these. So for example, make do is a collocation. You know make, you know do. Together, to make do means to do as much as you possibly can. Do enough considering what you have in mind. Oh, you know what I just noticed? Sorry, a little misspelling there. It happens even to the best of them, right? Unintentionally. Anyway, make do. A tall tale, again, tall adjective, tale noun. Together, they mean an unbelievable story. Sometimes, like little kids, when they get in trouble and they want to have an excuse so they don't get blamed, they make up a tall tale. They make up a lie or a fancy story sort of to get the attention away from them, get them out of trouble. Those are collocations. Phrasal verbs, keep at. So I hope that all of you keep at building your vocab. Continue to. Don't quit. Keep doing something. And hang on. Sometimes you'll have ups and downs. Hang on means, brace yourself. That's not very helpful either. Hang on to, basically means don't give up, don't lose hope, don't lose strength, right? Stay strong the whole time. And idioms. And I can give you 1,000 of them, but I'll just give you one as an example. Kick, habit, Put them all together. What does it mean? To quit something like smoking or drinking or usually something bad. So if you kick the habit, you quit doing that thing that you were doing. As you learn them, keep them in your notebook or notebooks in different categories. And again, by putting them together, you'll start remembering them more. But the most important part, use them. Use all of these new words. Use all of the new expressions. And keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Learning, using. Learning, using. And the best place to get all these new words, not from word lists. Read newspaper articles, read books, watch TV, watch news, watch movies, watch anything you can, and talk to different people, especially native English speakers or fluent English speakers, because that's where you're going to pick up all these new words. Write them down, use them, cycle, cycle, cycle. Keep going over and over again. So now, if you have any questions about any of this, please ask me at engVid.com. Don't forget you can go to Write to the Top on YouTube as well, or writetotop.com, where I make videos to help you build up these vocabulary chunks. And if you like the video, give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and come back next time for more useful tips. See you then. Bye-bye.